Hey everybody, and welcome to Taggle Talk, where Jake and Carrie talk about no one but Taggle.
Taggle, and who's Taggle, would you say? Taggle is a cat. The best cat.
The best talking cat.
Indeed.
How great is Taggle?
Think of the greatest cat you've ever met, and Taggle will be better. And longtime listeners to Taggle Talk will be aware that we've talked about 39 books so far. And how many of those have had Taggle in them, Carrie?
0 of them have had Taggle in them.
Okay, so 0. So that's made for some kind of short episodes.
Yeah,
but
because it's basically been like, does this book have Taggle in it? No. Thanks for listening.
We did have like a little talk about if Taggle the cat was a character in Anne of Green Gables.
But it turned out he was not.
He wasn't, but if he was, he would have scratched the hell out of what's her name.
Oh man, she was such a snatch basket. Yeah. He would have.
So we live in hope that one day we'll read a book and it will actually have Taggle in it. It's sort of like Quantum Leap.
Instead of one day we're leaping home, one day we're leaping into Taggle's arms.
Yeah, or maybe we just find the book at the library and then we bicycle home or something. So that bit is that's about as far as we can take that, I imagine. What podcast is this actually, Carrie?
This is actually Love YA Like Crazy.
And we talk about a different young adult books each time and rant about it and, well, talk about how much we love Taggle. No, not in every episode.
Well, from now on we will.
So that's true. That's very true.
I mean, this book was great and all, but there were no talking cats, so fuck it.
Maybe I'll go back to the old episodes and actually edit something in. Anyway, what book are we talking about this time?
We're talking about Plain Kate by Erin Bow.
Yeah. And there's going to be spoilers. We're going to swear.
Oh, yeah. I think there's a lot of swearing in this one.
We're going to talk about Taggle the cat a whole lot.
He's such a good cat. Such a noble cat. He's the Prince of Paws.
And maybe we'll talk about the title character or something. But
I've heard that she exists. I don't know much about her.
But I guess let's get to it.
Let's do it.
So let me describe sort of my experience of this book.
Mm-hmm.
We had talked about doing a different book, which you had described as being a sob fest, and which friend, listener, and award-winning songwriter Jody Redacted had confirmed was a sob fest.
Oh, which book was it? Was it Tell the Wolves I'm Home?
Yes, I believe it was.
I know my sob fests.
And so I told you, I've been thinking that it might be sort of fun in a weird way to do a book where we just sob the entire time. And you said, oh, then we should do Plain Kate. And I'm like, okay. So I started reading it and I was like, this book isn't, the world that happens sucks and bad things are happening in it, but I don't think this is sad per se.
Jacob, you know me. You know I don't enjoy crying.
I do know that.
I don't cry at the drop of a hat. So if I tell you a book is a sob fest, you should believe me. But I appreciate that you didn't.
Well, no, I was just like, what's going on here? And then I'm like, but it must get sad. So I'm reading along, and then like the second to last chapter, Taggle dies.
And Taggle dies in the most spectacularly Taggle way.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, well, this is sad, but I'm still not crying, but this is legitimately sad. And then the last chapter came. And then I was like, I was just a wreck. I was like, damn it, Carrie.
As Taggle loses his voice and I'm crying. And then like, I remember like reading it and my ex-husband was like, what is so sad? I'm like, the cat can't talk.
Yeah, and it's like this whole sort of...
Because what the fuck else?
It's like the end of Flowers for Algernon or something where the cat...
Oh my fuck, yes.
Oh my God.
But Flowers for Algernon is not a good book, but this is.
I think I've only ever read the short story of Flowers for Algernon, which I've heard is better than the book.
Oh, I don't think I've read it, so I'll have to add that to my to-read list because,
Yeah.
I'm always looking for something to make me cry.
Sure.
It's like, bring it on. Test me.
So, I don't know. I mean, we could talk about the plot and stuff, but obviously we just want to talk about Taggle, right?
Really, we want to talk about Taggle. This is Taggle Talk with Jake and Carrie.
Yeah. And then like the associated characters, like whatever, the title character.
Her name's like something.
You know what? Her name starts with Cat.
It does.
At the end, Taggle says Katrina, and then he says Cat, and then he can't talk anymore.
I know. Oh, Jacob, it's this fucking book. Katarina, star of my heart.
Oh.
Okay. Cat, he stuttered. Katarina. Cat. She knew it was the moment, and she turned to him. The cat looked up at her with the last trace of his broken heart, and then turned to look at the gold coins with simple gold coin eyes, and he said nothing. Forever after that, he said nothing. And there you have it. There's where my heart breaks.
I wrote that fucking flowers for Algernon thing. So I said that the book, like the world that this takes place in, sucks.
Oh, it totally sucks.
It's really horrible and bad. And for like the first chapter or two, I'm like, this may not because it's like badly written or anything, but just because it's so grim. I'm like, this might be tough. And then, so in the first chapter, Kate finds Taggle the kitten, who can't talk yet.
Yeah, because there's Raggle, Taggle, and
Bone.
That's a good name.
I assumed that was the white cat. It doesn't actually specify. It says they're black, gray, and white. And we know the gray one is Taggle. We don't know the others necessarily. And she is living her terrible life as an impoverished orphan. And Taggle brings her mice and rats and birds and bats to eat.
Because he's the best.
Because he's a good cat. And then he gets the ability to talk.
And he becomes the best cat.
The best cat. Because, like, instantly you're like, okay, this is the character. This is my guy. You know, like, this is the one.
Because he's got, like, such, like, he's got cat bravado. And he's, like, so proud of being a cat. Oh.
He's, like, so food-centered. It's awesome.
But also, he loves Kate. He loves her. Like, questionless. He adores that woman.
Yeah, like he's the character in the book who can be simultaneously hilarious and touching, and whenever someone is a jerk in the book, Taggle will bite them. He's like a totally petty cat. Like,
oh, I know.
He brags about how like a cat kicked him, or or a cat, not a cat,
a horse.
Yeah. Well, I know how you feel about horses. I forget exactly what the horse did.
Oh, I remember what had happened. They had ridden on the horse, and he did not enjoy that ride.
Oh, that's right.
And I think that's what happened is after the ride, he's like, I got back at that motherfucker. I slashed him when he wasn't walking anymore.
Oh, and another great thing, like towards the end of the book, Kate's friend...
Drina?
Her father, we can talk about more later if we want.
We'll have to talk about the guy, I guess.
I don't know. We'll see. But he is, he gets this sleeping illness.
Peace out, motherfucker. We don't like you.
And then Taggle's like, oh, I can wake him up. I'm good at waking people up. And then the way that he tries to wake him up is like, he walks on his chest and then he like touches his nose and then he
screams in his face.
Yeah. And then when that doesn't work, he's like, hell, fuck if I know. Like, it's always worked before, It's very good. Very cat.
It is very cat. I was sort of, the first time I read it, I assumed that he was just going to put his butthole in his face, which is a very cat thing to do. But he didn't, at least not that we know of. Maybe Erin Bow did not write that, but we can assume that Taggle did, in fact, put butt in face.
Yes, I accept that as a headcanon. And I think it also works kind of nice because, like I said, Taggle makes the book more bearable for me. But one of the reasons why that works with the book is that he also makes everything more bearable for Kate.
Yeah.
And that's actually why he starts talking is...
She needed a friend.
Right. She makes a deal with a witch. Like it's not exactly uncoerced, but she makes this deal with the witch, and the witch, part of it is that she gets a wish. And she said, she is talking to Taggle, who can't talk back at that point, and is like, I wish I had someone to talk to and that I would never be alone. And that results in a talking cat.
And in exchange, she loses her shadow.
Yes.
And that's not, as much as I love Taggle the talking cat, it's still not quite a fair deal.
No.
Although, I don't know, maybe I'd give away my shadow for Taggle the talking cat. He's a great cat. He's the Prince of Paw.
Well, one of the things at the end is like, she basically, like, he sacrifices himself essentially. I mean, not exactly to save the world, but kind of. Definitely to save a city.
To save her.
That too.
I mean, he does it mainly for her because he knows how important it is for her. He doesn't, his whole thing was like, oh, the city, oh, well.
Why don't we leave?
But for Kate, he would do it. Yeah, he's like, why don't we just kill them all? Like, that's fun. I know the way of blood.
Yeah. And so then Kate is like walking out through the city and like the survivors are trying to figure out what to do and whatever. And Kate is just like, I should have kept the cat. You know, like she was just like, yeah. And you're with her on that. I feel like as reading it, because these people have not, you know, like there are good people in the book. But there are also bad people, and the good people tend to, like, they sort of try to keep the bad people in check, but they've
also got their own shit going on.
They have their own shit going on. They don't exactly know what they're supposed to do. Like, so, they're not like the dominant force, you know, like one bad person can do a lot more damage than one good person in general.
And then, you know, a lot of the bad people, like, they're terrible to her and they're not good, but also, like, I sort of understand their motivation.
Sure.
Which makes it even harder, like, to know, like, all of these people are actually acting in what they think is good faith. Like, you know, I think about, you know, Drina's dad, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
He was scared shitless. And he was acting in accordance. Was it the right thing to do? Absolutely fucking not. But is he a bad person? I don't know. And then I think of Lene. Is he a bad person? He's a pretty fucking bad person. He wanted to kill everybody, but he was doing it to save his sister's soul.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like the book wanted me to be more sympathetic to Lene than I was, because I felt like...
Oh, he's a shitheel.
Yeah. When you're responsible for the deaths of hundreds of people, that's a tough one for me.
Including, like, the little kid.
Yes.
That pissed me off. I was like, that fucking bitch ate a little kid's soul, and you're cool with that? Like, do you really think your sister would want that? No.
No.
I was just looking at different lines from Taggle. Oh, I just love Taggle so much.
What do you got? You got a good one?
It was when the little kid saw Taggle talk.
Yeah.
Let's see. Plain Kate picked him up and scratched him by his ruff. Thank you for not killing him. By this time, she knew how to flatter a cat. Praise of ferocity and civility both. Taggle preened. He's a kitten. He arranged his dignity around him with a few carefully placed licks. Else I would have laid such a crosshatch of scratches on him he'd have scales like a fish.
Yeah.
That fucking cat is so cool. I love him so much.
Taggle.
Taggle. The Prince of Paw. And Taggle also thinks a lot better of himself than maybe he should. Like, he thinks he can take down a deer on his own.
Yeah, it's very good. You're right. And he wants to kill a heron.
Oh, he knows he can do it.
Yes.
Yeah, so when I first read the book, I didn't know what to expect. Because, you know, when I start a book, I kind of go into it just like, I just go along with it. I don't try to think about what's going to happen, because I'm really good at guessing what's going to happen, so I try to not do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think, you know, what was going to happen to Taggle. What's going to happen to this magical, wonderful beast? No. So I get to the end, and yeah, I'm breaking down. This time I read it, I knew what was going to happen because I read it before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in my office, finishing it on my lunch break, and just sobbing. And I cried so hard I gave myself a headache.
Yep, that will definitely happen. Yep.
This fucking book, my friend.
Yeah, I also reread it today.
And how did you feel afterwards?
It's like, God damn it happened again.
It happens every time. Like, I've read this book now 3 times. And that's probably 2 more times than I should, but I can't help myself because I really enjoy the book. I love the book. But, oh my God, that gut-wrenching ending. And then I texted Sarah immediately, and I was like, Sarah, I just finished rereading Plain Kate. I need a hug. And she completely understood because she's read the book too and has had a very similar reaction. I was like, my fucking new coworkers are going to think I am a mess. And I am a mess. But now they're going to know it.
Well, it's, just get them to read the book.
Yeah, I'm like, read the book. Tell me what you think. You'll cry.
Yeah.
Where did this book take place?
I mean, I felt like it was kind of alternative world, but it's also sort of vaguely Eastern European, probably kind of medieval period. Everyone in it is like dirt poor. And maybe they're rich people. I mean, I guess there probably are, but we don't see any of them. Like, everyone is so far removed from that.
I was assuming Poland.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yes, that's vaguely Eastern European, Carrie. Good job.
Well, I mean, Poland is less vague than.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, if we're just going to go with vaguely Eastern European, that's probably, more accurate than this is Poland. This is 100% Poland. I mean, there's some of the words that, sounded sort of like vaguely whatever. I looked them up and they were all made up.
Right.
It's just like, God damn it. I can't even use that as a reference point.
Can I complain about some things?
Yes.
Thank you. So, there are a number of coincidences in this book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of Dickensian in that way, just in terms of like, as soon as someone mentions a mother who's not present, it's probably the same person, a mother, sister, or wife.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at some point, Crate is like, oh, wait, these are all the same person. And I'm like, yeah, that's a little weird, isn't it? But so that was a little weird. I had a little trouble understanding exactly what everyone's plan was at the end, which I actually liked in a way in terms of like Drina and Kate. I don't know how old they're supposed to be. I feel like probably like 13-ish. I was
thinking like 14 or 15, so it's all close enough.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she didn't get her first period until the book. I mean, till So I figure, if it was a surprise to her and she didn't know about it and they said, oh, you got it late.
Right.
That's when I was thinking like, oh, she must be like 15.
Yeah. And then Drina is a little younger. But either way, it's like, in terms of coming up with a plan to save the city, your plan it's going to be, that's a tough one for, I mean, any age, but a 15-year-old is not going to come up with the best plan necessarily. But then I didn't really understand. I guess I didn't really understand exactly what Linné's, like, his path to getting burned to death seemed pretty convoluted. But also, that was something that I was like, I don't understand this, but that's fine. I just won't worry about it for now, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, sometimes you just kind of roll with it. You're like, I don't know what the fuck. I'll just roll with it. He's crazy.
That's true. He is crazy.
He's. I mean, he is and he isn't. I think. I think he was absolutely driven mad by the thought of saving his sister.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he was absolutely like not in right mind, because he was still able to do a lot of fucking manipulative, creepy, weird things, like get a young girl to sell him her shadow,
right,
and also get said same young girl to bleed out into a ice bowl every night.
Yeah, that was creepy.
Super fucking creepy. Yeah, and as she's dying, he's just like, okay, cool, can you bleed some more? Because I need to get her to follow us all the way to love, and burn some people to the ground. So basically, all this started when like a sickness came through and killed a lot of people, and they were looking for someone to blame, and the people in various towns who lost people blamed witches, whether or not witches were real or whether or not witches were the cause of it. They didn't care. And Lenore was one of those witches who got killed.
She was curing people, which involves a sacrifice because everything is it's always a trade. Magic is always a trade in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So she was trading some of her own blood or life force in return for being able to cure other people. So she was weakened, and she was set on fire, but then she escaped and went to the river and drowned and became some special kind of ghost that is probably in my notes someplace.
I'm sure it is. I know it starts with an R.
Rusalka.
Yeah. So Lenore turned into a Rusalka, which is this very hungry, very sad ghost.
Which travels under the cover of fog and makes you go to sleep and never wake up.
So then all these people around Kate get this sleeping sickness. And who should be responsible for it but Lene, by way of Lenore.
Lene, who's been summoning the fog.
Yes, because he is also a witch, and his speciality is he's a weather witch. So he can bring fog, and he can bring rain, and he can do all sorts of things like that. But he's also gotten a lot more powerful with other things by way of, talking to people he should not be talking to about things he should not be talking about, and learning a lot of dark magic.
But it's all worthwhile because he gives Taggle the power of speech.
And Taggle is the greatest gift to all mankind.
Anyway, I just managed to completely distract myself from the plot of the book.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just read the part where Taggle died. Oh, God. I'm going to read it. And Taggle, who was beautiful, who had never misjudged a jump in his life, leapt toward her with his forelegs outflung. He landed clean on the blade. There was a sound like someone biting into an apple. And then he was in her arms with the blade sticking out of his back.
Yeah, and then he asked for his ear to be scratched.
Uh-huh.
While he bleeds out.
Mm-hmm. It's right on his chin, I think. It said right above the hard nub of his jawbone. So.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh my God. This fucking book. And I'm just like, so Kate has like all these fucking people in her life have like fucked her over or died. Her mom died, then her dad died, now her cat died. Doreena's dad tried to set Kate on fire. Other people turned their backs on her. Daj turned her back on Kate because, Daj's husband just got the sleepy sickness and the cat talked.
Yeah, and Kate doesn't have a shadow, and they've noticed that. So they're just like, I don't really want to kill this child, but on the other hand, there's some weird things going on here that I don't have an explanation for.
And so let's burn her alive.
Sure.
In a bear cage.
Yeah, I mean,
that's normal.
Who hasn't been there?
And so that's why I'm like, I feel like I can't be unsympathetic to a lot of the, especially the roamers that she spends a lot of time with. I feel like I can't be completely unsympathetic to them, even though they tried to burn her alive, even though they did, turn their back on her. It's like they're going through some shit. Not only are they already, oppressed in a lot of ways, but now, every town they go to, people are going to think that, they're the ones bringing the trouble, and then they're all going to get killed for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want them to burn Kate alive, but I also, it didn't make me hurt for her in the ways that other things did. Yeah,
no, I'm with you. I mean, I appreciated, like, I didn't want them all to die or whatever.
No.
But at the same time, I did kind of appreciate that, like, when Bajette, when he wakes up again after the death of Taggle.
We will not speak of that.
Kate is kind of like, Yeah, I mean, it's good that you're awake, I guess, but also
you a shitheel.
you can kind of go fuck yourself.
Her literal actual heart is dead. If everyone who could have lived, why did it have to be you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's quite a thing to say to a guy. And I can appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, after all of this, Drina's mom and Lene's sister and Bichette's wife, Lenore.
Yeah.
Because, yes, coincidence, everyone's related, comes back to life.
Yes.
But also kind of doesn't want to be.
Yeah, she's seen some things and she's done some things that she doesn't really want to live with.
And she also doesn't quite understand it all, I don't think. I think she sort of remembers it, but it's like a weird half dream thing. Like, I'm pretty sure I did some really shitty things. I don't know exactly what they are, but I know that they're not good.
Yeah, and then sort of the result is my brother did all this fucked up shit, and I'm not crazy about that all. And also there's this dead cat, and so
just maybe
I should die and the cat can come back to life.
Which is the greatest idea that anyone has ever had.
Yeah, no, it's super great. I'm totally on board.
Mm-hmm. Except for one problem.
Yes. So the reason that Taggle decided that, I mean, this is foreshadow. We are set up for it because a little bit earlier, like they're talking about what the hell are we going to do? And they don't really know because, like, what are you going to do, right? Like, against this incredibly powerful witch and his, like, crazy powerful ghost sister. And Taggle's like, well, I know that one thing that would work is if I died, because Lene got your shadow in return for me being able to talk. And if the gift is no longer, like, if you reject the gift by killing me, then you'll get your shadow back and this whole thing will stop. And Kate is like, nope, we're not doing that.
I don't blame her. I would 100% not be able to do it either. I would let those fuckers burn.
Yeah. But then later on, there really is no other option. So that's why she goes through with it. Although,
well, she doesn't really go through with it.
She takes her knife out. She knows it has to be done.
But he does the brave cat thing.
Yes. He throws himself on the knife.
And sacrifices himself.
Best cat ever.
Best cat ever. He's such a good cat.
But then also the other half of that is, once Kate has her shadow back, that also breaks the deal. So Taggle won't be able to talk anymore. And it takes a little time because it took time for her to give up her shadow. Like, it just sort of gradually got weaker and weaker until finally it ended up in a box in Lene's boat. Another weird thing that happens in this book.
Mm-hmm.
But, it happens pretty quickly that he starts to lose his words. And it's rough, folks. It's a rough thing to read.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sob fest situation.
How bad?
On
a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being like, one sad clown tear, and 10 being, I'm about to vomit, what would you give this?
Oh, well, on a scale from clown tear to vomit, I'm going to go with ugly crying in front of my computer while I'm working.
I was going to give it a very similar score, which is hyperventilating into a Kleenex while pretending that no one else can hear me.
Yes. There are some things I liked about this book that aren't Taggle related.
No, there aren't.
No, there are.
How is that possible?
Well, this is perilously close to Taggle talk, but in addition to Katerina's name, Kate, Katerina, including the word cat, she has a Objarka,
Abjarka,
which is like a sort of,
like a talisman.
yes, which is like a carved thing, and you can have one that looks nice that brings luck, or one that is super ugly that keeps away bad luck. And hers is a sleeping cat.
Because she is a carver, which we haven't even mentioned.
That's true.
It's sort of a part of the book. Like, it's kind of a big part of the book that she can carve like a motherfucker.
Yes, that's true.
So there you have it. She carves a Bjarka. And then later she carves another figure, which happens to be Lenore, because she got some magic fingers. And so everyone thinks she's a witch, and I think she's got a little witch in her.
Right. It seems like there are different kinds of magic. There's witch magic, and if you're a witch, you can't lie, which logically would mean that whenever Kate tells someone that she isn't a witch, they should leave her the fuck alone. But somehow it doesn't work that way, because if she is a witch, then she can't say that. And if she isn't a witch, then she's telling the truth. But that's not how it works, apparently.
Them common folk aren't good with the logic, Jake.
Go to your community college. Take a course in logic. Jesus. So she's a carver. And one of the things I like is, like, there are several times over the course of the thing where at one point, Taggle goes to try to get the key to the cage that she's been locked into and fails, and is hit with an axe, but not the sharp part. Like, he's knocked unconscious, and the axe is sort of discarded near the cage, and Kate is able to get to the axe handle and looks at it and is like, this handle's not very well made. And similarly, when she finds the box that containing her shadow in Lene's boat, it's made from fragments of the stall that she lived in before she was run out of town as a possible witch. And again, she just is like, the person who put this box together did not know what they were doing. And I just appreciate that sort of little bit of, she is proud of her abilities as a woodworker and carver, and she is a little bit snobby when someone else tries to do this kind of work and isn't very good at it.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
I like that. And again, I like that, at a certain point, you're like, these teenagers are trying to figure out how to fix everything. And that's just not something you can really ask teenagers to do. They are a little bit hopeless until Taggle comes to the rescue. Because
Taggle is
the best.
The best cat.
Are there things about the book that you liked or didn't like that we haven't talked about?
I like her friendship with Drina. I like that, Drina really, really wants to help her. And she's like the only person who will do just about anything to help her until it, causes actual bodily harm.
Yeah.
Where she loses some teeth, her hair gets chopped off.
And that's also a sort of a thing about the horrible world they find themselves in, is like, they go to the market, they're having a good time, they're selling, the charms and the objarkas, and everything seems like it's going great. And then this one guy who also sells charms,
but his charms are tin and shitty.
Yeah, and he doesn't like that they're there, and so he starts speaking, against them, and gets a priest to view them with suspicion, and super quickly it all just goes to hell, and basically a lynch mob forms.
I really like the world building in this. It was all very believable.
Mm-hmm.
Learning sort of the rules that the roamers had, and they were very consistent, which I appreciated. At one point, she had blood on her.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, she wasn't on her period. It wasn't, menstrual blood or anything. She had blood on her, and they're like, oh, that's why they're dead. Because she is unclean and she touched us with her blood.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I really appreciated that. It was very consistent. There wasn't, every rule that they had, sort of came to, I don't know, maybe it's like, hey, this is a coincidence, so we're going to tell you all these rules and then you're going to break them. Like the rule of we can't go out alone, or the rule that you got to use the fourth bucket.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it. I appreciated Erin Bow's world building because it all felt really believable to me. Even the magic parts didn't feel like they were so far-fetched that it didn't feel like a fantasy book to me.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is really unique to a fantasy book. To not feel like it is. You know, there's a talking cat, there's magic, there's, you know, witches, but it felt realistic.
I agree.
So that's what I got for you. Also, Taggle.
Taggle. Yes. Good cat. Scratches like a motherfucker.
Scratches like a motherfucker.
So I feel like I complained about some things, but I definitely enjoyed this book a lot, and I recommend it. If you like cats, and maybe if you don't, you'll cry at the end, probably.
You will 100% cry, whether you like cats or not. If you have any heart beating in your chest, you will fucking sob. Full stop.
But I read it pretty quickly, and it was fun to read because of Taggle mainly.
It's not fun, but
up to a point. Like you know that he loves Kate because at one point I think Lene offers them meat pies, or someone offers them meat pies, and Taggle's like, "Oh, this is bread. Oh wait, there's meat in it." Oh, you know what? You can have the bread if you want. And then after a little while, he's like, "And there's meat too if you want that." Like, oh, that cat loves this girl so much.
He does. He loves her. I mean, and part of it is, you know, no matter what a cat might act like, cats love the attention, and she knows how to give him the attention that he wants, you know, whether it's buttering him up or scratching him exactly the way he wants it. And the fact that he can say, like, "Scratch me here, bitch."
Yeah.
They're a good relationship. I just love Taggle so much.
He's a rich character because on the one hand, he's like vain and petty and incredibly food focused, but on the other, he's snuggly, he's brave, he will fight anyone, and he loves Kate. And so there's just kind of an inherent richness to that.
Did you just describe us perfectly? I am very food focused, and I like to snuggle.
Okay, so maybe what I like about this character is not so much the richness of the character as the fact that that it reminds me of my dear friend Carrie and my dear me.
Oh, your dear you. Yeah, Taggle's humanness is weird, and she even says it multiple times, like, he just did something that was a little too people-like for me. He nods his head, he points his paw. You know, he becomes more and more human, which is really unnerving, I think, but also feels so comforting to her.
And he resists becoming more human. Like, he doesn't really want to do it. But like, the one thing that I really remember is she tries to get her shadow out of the box, and it's a total disaster. Like, it starts tearing itself apart in the sunlight, and the only way to get it back in the box is to, you know, tears are the main thing. And Taggle's like, "I'm a cat, I don't cry, like, I don't know what to do." And then Kate goes unconscious, and wakes up seeing Taggle's eyes full of tears. And he becomes more human as the book goes until that last chapter.
Oh, that last chapter, Jacob. When he loses his voice, my heart breaks along with Kate's. He is just such a loyal friend and such an asshole. And this book should just be called Taggle, and every word should just be Taggle.
I see. It's like it was translated into Groot's language.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so our next book, we're going to do Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. And so you said that this is one of your favorite books.
This is one of my favorite books of all time, yeah. I used to use part of this as my audition piece. It was like at the very beginning. One of my audition pieces was from Something Wicked, so there you go.
Excellent. Yeah. So if you want to read it in advance, go ahead and do that. It'll be appropriate for the season, although we'll probably actually talk about it in November. But
so what? It's appropriate for all seasons.
That's also true.
Mm-hmm. I just figure, like, when you're too scared to watch it, but you still want to know about creepy carnivals and stuff.
Yeah.
Something wicked. This way comes.
All right. Once again, you've described me to a T.
Oh, I can't. You know, I can't do scary movies.
I do know that.
I can read the scariest books you got. I can read gory, scary, whatever, but cannot watch it.
Yeah, I've been seeing. Stephanie Perkins has been posting about from time to time about progress in making the movie based on what was it? Something.
There's someone inside your house.
Yeah, and every time I'm like, man, that movie looks so good. I will never watch it, but it looks good.
What if we got together and watched it in broad daylight? Do you think we could do it?
I mean, I can do it. I just don't know
if you want to.
But we can do that. We can do that death pact
when
I go visit you on the other coast.
Because I'm in San Diego now.
You are.
I made it. I don't know how, but I did.
You did it. You made it because you're awesome.
Shut your mouth.
Okay. So I should have written a song for someone who reviewed us on iTunes or whatever, but I didn't. I'll do it next time.
Okay. What is their name?
Oh, a Bodette of Rockport 517. So that'll be a challenge for me.
I can't write that. That doesn't rhyme with anything.
7, yeah.
Heaven, 11.
Yeah.
Splevin.
Who are you? I'm Slevin.
Like, there's nothing.
Songs don't have to rhyme.
No, they don't.
This is my little songwriting secret for all y'all. We do have a Patreon, which has been fairly unsuccessful so far, but if you enjoy the podcast and want to help support it, you can go to patreon.com/loveya-like-crazy, and you'll find information about it and the pledge levels and whatnot. Basically, you can pledge money on a monthly basis. You'll get access to a bunch of bonus material. I think there will be a little bonus material from this very episode that you can listen to if you're a patron.
Oh my goodness. What's our bonus?
What I'm thinking is I'll put the little part where we were trying to decide what book we wanted to do next. Tune in next time where we'll talk about Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. And great to talk to you, Carrie.
Great to talk to you. I miss you so much.
I miss you.
And I love you like crazy.
Like crazy.
Give me a call when you get back. Hey there.
Hey.
LoveYaLikeCrazy.com.
So how do we talk about this?
Well, So I had this idea for a really stupid way to start this episode.
Okay.
Which we can think about and decide when the time has come to record the introduction, whether we actually want to do it or not.
Okay.
But I thought that we do an introduction where it'd be like, welcome to Taggle Talk, the podcast where we talk about Taggle the cat, the best cat.
The king of cats.
And on this podcast, we talked about 39 books. So far, none of them have had Taggle the cat. But finally, we got one.
Oh my God. I'm down.
Okay, good. Taggle Talk is recorded in front of a live studio audience. The Taggle Talk theme is That's the Way You Love Me by Kipperman, uploaded to the Tribe of Noise website.